What's up, Nerf Nation? It is springtime 2024. Of course, springtime means spring cleaning and spring savings if you are a foam flinger. Of those things that Walmart actually is now having a pretty good clearance sale on all of their blasters that they're trying to get off the shelves. Of those things that this year there is a highly anticipated release, which is the Dart Zone / Adventure Force Nexus Pro X. I actually happened to pick up one of those, and while I was there, I managed to pick up the classic, the OG, the, dare I say, iconic, original Nexus Pro. But that's not all we're doing today because, yes, we also have the Nexus Pro X. But I have still yet to do an actual unboxing on the Nexus Pro or an actual review about the original Nexus Pro, so why not? Let's start with the old man here. Now, released back in 2020, this blaster actually brought pro blasters to the mass market by putting them on the actual store shelves. It is iconic. It made it affordable. It made it so that anyone could actually grab one at a local store instead of actually having to order online and wait for shipping, such as the Game Face Prime or the Jet Ceta, or even some of the other more intense Dart Zone blasters. But with it being available on Walmart shelves, it became much more affordable. You can actually find a Pro Blaster under $50. And in this case, with this one, I actually got it at around 70% off, which is pretty darn good. Of course, that is because they were selling it on clearance to make space for the Nexus Pro X. Now, the Nexus Pro does come in 3 different versions. You actually have the traditional original orange one, which I think I have one that's been modified to shoot a ridiculous amount of speed. Picked that one up off of a Goodwill. I have one that I painted, which is somewhere on that wall back there, with a steel gunmetal gray and gold highlights. That is one more for cosplay purposes. Then they did release one, which they called the Midas Touch version, which is a gold-plated Nexus Pro. I actually have one of those new in box. I may eventually unbox it. I don't know. Or I may let it appreciate in value and become a collector's item. Not sure what I'm going to do with that. Then, of course, they released this special edition purple camo one, which I'm not going to lie. At first, when I saw it, I was kind of like, ugh, that's weird. Why would I want that? Because things on screen don't always look as great as they do in person. Then I saw it in person and I was like, you know what? That's actually kind of fun and attractive. So it went on sale and said, hey, why not? Let's pick it up. Now, inside this box, of course, the Nexus Pro, it is made to shoot both half darts and standard length darts, and it comes with what they call Adventure Force Pro darts. They're really the Dart Zone Ember darts, and they're pretty decent. A fresh pair of Ember darts could definitely go about as fast as the Ruby darts, but they don't last as long and they're not as accurate. So if you have to choose between the two, go with the Rubies naturally. Of course, if you're on a budget, the Embers are a very good choice as well. Either way, it all depends as to do you want accuracy at 100 feet or accuracy within, say, 45 feet. Choose your poison. Pick your play style here. Now, it does come with the actual Magwell adapter that this is made specifically for the Dart Zone magazines, and it is interchangeable with any of the Dart Zone magazines. I believe that Talons can fit in there. However, they do not fit inside of Talon adapters. Again, if you have a Talon magazine adapter, do not try to stick a Dart Zone half dart magazine in there without some major modifications. It's just not going to work. Do you hear me? Don't try it at home, kids. Thank you. Now, of course, you do get enough of the half-length darts and the full-length darts to fill up your magazine, and it also comes with the 2 iron sights as well as the buttstock. But the cool thing about this box, and much like most of the other Dart Zone Pro boxes, is that you can actually flip it open and see the contents without taking apart the entire box. But let's go and actually open this thing up right now because I'm actually going to add this to my wall, to my collection, because, yeah, I really like the Nexus Pro. It's fun. It is a fun blaster. Now, this is one that actually straight out of the box, you can take it into a competitive play atmosphere. This is great for less than and 150 FPS without modification. Of course, if you do modify it, you can easily make this compete for 250 or 250 plus FPS, especially if you're using, say, the bamboo darts. So let's go ahead and actually open this box here. Let's cut this tape and reveal the contents of what's inside. All right, so inside this box, it's pretty simple. You have, of course, your blaster, and you have your plastic little scar barrel here that attaches. You can use it with or without. You have your standard length magazine here. You have your mag adapter, and you have your half dart magazine here. You have your iron sights. Actually, the back sight here, the front sight is already on the blaster itself. And, of course, you have your buttstock and your darts over here on this side. Let's go and actually see if I can actually get this out now. So we can just take everything and put this blaster together so you can see it. Ah, yes, and of course, what blaster set would not be complete without its instructions that nobody ever reads? So let's take a look at these little plastic strips here. This is not frustration-free packaging, and that's okay because this is a quote-unquote pro-level blaster. Let's frustrate you as much as possible so you can play with it. I kid. So I'll be honest with you. I will say that I've always been fond of the Primetime Toys / Dart Zone packaging. They always present things really well in the packaging, and it's just really nice. Much better, in my opinion, than the competition. Here's looking at you, Hasbro, and Busby Toys. Speaking of Hasbro and Busby, not to cross-promote here, however, if you are looking for blasters, they are now starting to appear on the shelves. There is new zombie lines from Hasbro, and Busby Toys has actually pushed out the Arsenal Pack X for Adventure Force at Walmart. So you can actually now get those on the shelves. And not that anyone actually really cares about this, but from my understanding, there's a new gel fire blaster from Hasbro as well. Here's our blaster body. Set this down now. Our iron sight. Magazine 1, magazine 2. There we go. And let me get to these darts real fast. Now, I will say one thing about these darts, and it's just a little bit of a disappointment that I have with Dart Zone. I know that the hobby has shifted to using the half-length darts. Therefore, these are easy to find. They are available on the store shelves. The full lengths, however, are not. You cannot buy these anywhere except for when they come with the blaster, and that's kind of a shame because I actually kind of like the full-length darts. Not for competitive play necessarily, but I like to use these with regular Nerf blasters because they are much better than the Elite darts. They're much more accurate, and flinging them around the house, you are just going to have an easier time hitting your target if you use these instead of the standard Elite darts. And it'd be nice to be able to replace these because they're not completely indestructible. They are pretty solid. However, dart jams do happen. So you only have the ones that come with the actual blaster itself, and that's kind of a shame. And that doesn't matter which dart you use. It could be a bamboo dart. It could be the Ember darts. The only full-length darts that they actually use, or I should say standard-length darts that they actually sell on the shelves are the Chili darts and the Adventure Force waffle darts, which, again, kind of an annoyance. Now, you can alternately find a couple of aftermarket bamboo darts, or I should say older bamboo darts. They're version 1s. If you actually go on Etsy and look them up, you can find packets of them. They are a little bit overpriced because of the fact that they are hard to find. But if you can find them, I recommend buying them only because they're kind of nice to have around, especially when you want to compare dart size. So, of course, you do have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 darts here. And, of course, you have the 12 dart magazine. So, much like a standard magazine, you load them up. You see which way it tells you how to load with the dart head facing. And you just load them up like so. If you don't know how to load a magazine, I don't know how to help you because of the fact that this is pretty self-explanatory. Of course, if you actually own an adult weapon and you don't know how to load a magazine, let's say you own an actual pistol as opposed to a revolving barrel pistol, yeah, it's the same concept, y'all. So it's probably a lot easier, to be honest. And boom, boom, Boom. Now, I will tell you that because of the fact that these magazines are designed like this, any standard Nerf magazine will fit inside of a Nexus Pro. That also includes the drum magazines. So if you have a drum magazine and you want to look really interesting with the Nexus Pro, you can use it. I'm not going to stop you. I might chuckle at the battlefield because you have 30 rounds and be like, God help us all, but that's okay. If you use half length, you can always get one of those Tachi magazines from Out of Darts, and that kind of levels the playing field when it comes to dart capacity. So let's go here. And that is that. So our magazines are now loaded. Now, putting on the buttstock, of course, you have the extended barrel. So standard Nerf barrel, buttstocks will not attach here because of this. However, that's okay because this is a much better buttstock, in my opinion, than anything that is part of the Hasbro line at this moment. And the sight, of course, these are standard Picatinny railings. You want to actually load this up from the rear side because of the fact that if you look at the way this works, it has one way to go in, but not a way out, so it can only be loaded from the back. You just slide that on there. That clips into place, and that flips up to whatever angle you need to actually use that sight. It's a little bit stiff. And then, of course, you have the front iron sight that you can just slide up and off if you need to, if you want to take it off. Now, because of the fact that this is Picatinny, you can put on a aftermarket regular tactical optic sight on here if you wish to do so. However, what will not fit on here without some sort of 3D printed modification are the Nerf tactical sights. Now, priming the blaster, of course, you just actually pull back on this priming handle. That is now primed and ready to fire. As you can see, that is pretty loud. This does have the aluminum barrel inside of it, and it does have plastic internals, but you can actually buy a worker kit to put a much beefier string on here and make it spring, not string, much beefier spring on here, and those metal internals will actually support all that added pressure that you need to pull this back. One of the things I will let you know is that when you actually are priming or not priming this, I should say it's not primed, there is some giveaway here, but it does not go any further than this until you are ready to pull it back, like so. Now, once it locks into place, that is locked. It's not going to pull back. That is because this does have a safety lock inside, which, of course, if you chose to remove it, that is up to you. I don't see why you would want to do that necessarily, but it's up to you. Now, when it comes to actually loading this blaster, of course, like any other blaster, you have to make sure that it is primed because of the fact that right there, as you can see, it is where the magazine does load. Now, it does have a plastic breech here that feeds into the aluminum tube. You may wish to eventually get a aluminum breech. Let me put my finger here so you can actually see what I'm pointing at. But again, it performs pretty well with the plastic. So you do have, of course, a trigger safety here. When this is facing towards you, or I should say the nub is out on the left side, that means that you are safe to fire. When you push it in and it pops out on the right side, that means that the trigger safety is engaged. So that trigger is not going anywhere. This is a common modification that people do to get rid of. However, it's one of those things. This is a pro-level blaster. A younger nerfer may eventually hurt themselves with it, so I try to keep this one on there. Then, of course, you have your mag release trigger right here, which is pretty decently sized, so you just have to keep your index finger down here, or I should say your middle finger down here, and just push forward, and you are good to go. This handle, it is pretty comfortable. It feels like a standard pistol grip, which is great. So for a standard adult size hand, this is an amazing handle. Again, there's a reason why this became such a popular blaster and so iconic. If you don't have one, I recommend picking one up aftermarket if you can, or if you find them used now on sale, pick one up. Now is your chance because this is a piece of foam flinging history as far as I'm concerned. And the color scheme, it is pretty nice. It's very pretty. Again, I wasn't impressed when I first saw it on screen, but in person, that's just pretty. It includes one of my favorite color combinations with the purple, the teal, and the black and white. You know, add a little gray in here, and you know what? That is one of the best color combinations in my palettes. So now let's actually go ahead and actually switch views here so you can see what it looks like when you're holding it in your arms and how comfortable this is. So, of course, this blaster in my arms, it does seem a little bit small, but when you actually extend this buttstock out a little bit, it adjusts to be perfect, so you don't have to chicken wing as much, and it is just the right length for you to be able to pull back and have enough leverage to pull back comfortably and firing. Now, of course, loading this blaster, if you want to use the half-dart magazines, you must load first the actual adapter itself. I will point out, with the adapter, it does have its own magazine release inside of it. So that way, if you actually have to swap out magazines, you just push on this magazine release right here, and it will drop out. Now, if it's a gravity drop, you will see that it does not drop out. So no, it is not a gravity drop. There are some worker magazines that are. This is not one of them. Now, also want to go ahead and show you this is a Game Face Prime magazine, which is the exact same thing as a Talon magazine, except it has this little lip on the bottom. You will see that it does fit in here without a problem. So, also not a gravity drop. So, there you go. Now, loading the standard Nerf magazines, or I should say the standard size magazines, it does load up to there. You will see that it does not become flush with the body of the actual blaster itself. There is like a little bit of space there, a millimeter. That is okay. That is natural. But again, that is how this blaster works. It is pretty decent. We're actually going to run this one through the chronograph, as well as doing an accuracy test with this one and an actual distance test. It does promote up to 125 feet. We will see if it actually can hit that or break it. I'm going to lean more towards breaking it. And I may actually also show you what a modified one looks like, or what to say, the numbers look like, so you can actually judge and see whether or not you want to spend the extra money to upgrade the barrel, to get the actual extended brass barrel, and upgraded spring. They do also sell spring spacers for this blaster that are easy to put in. Speaking of which, let's talk about that. It is one little screw that you actually have to undo, and then this twists off. The spring comes out from the back, much like the Dart Zone Pro Mark 1.2. And you can actually just do a spring swap and put the spacer in there without a problem. I will tell you that when you put the spring spacer on there, it does boost the FPS by right around 25 to 40 FPS. But it also makes it a little bit harder to prime. Duh. You choose which one you want to do. But first, let's go and actually clear this away, because out with the old, in with the new hotness. We now get to look at the Pro X. Now, the Pro X, of course, they naturally went with the purple with some of the quote-unquote camo scheme going on here, and it looks just different enough to be worthy of purchase. The first thing that grabs my attention off the bat is the bearing scar that they include with the blaster. Now, Dart Zone released this a few months ago for purchase. It is $19.99, and it is probably the cheapest, and I should say cheapest as in most affordable B card that is available on the market. However, you run into the situation that it is only compatible, at least so far as I've seen, with Dart Zone blasters. I actually have it on my other Nexus Pro, or maybe that's the Mark 1.2 that I put it on. Not sure. Whichever. Point is, it fits those blasters, and it is supposed to increase the accuracy. Now, we're going to test it with the Nexus Pro X and see if there truly is an increase in accuracy, because I'm going to test this one outdoors at 60 feet as well as indoors. But first, let's take a look at what's inside this box. Much like the original Nexus Pro, this of course flips open to reveal the contents of the blaster itself. Kind of nice. Now, the first thing I'll tell you is that this blaster actually does come with safety glasses. The original did not. And also it comes with 2 half-length magazines because this blaster, as far as I can tell, does not take standard lengths. As I said, the hobby has moved away from standard length and has gone to the half lengths. I'm sure that in about 10 years they'll go to quarter length darts. Please don't do that. Seriously, I'm begging you. Next thing we need to do is switch views and take out everything that's inside this box. So the other thing I want to point out about this box, and I should say about the blaster itself, is that it does say that it goes up to 200 feet. Excuse me. Up to 200 feet, and it has slamfire power. Now, I don't know if it says shoots up to 200 feet with slamfire power or if it's 200 feet with just an individual shot. We will test that out. I'm going to lean more towards it is 200 feet with a single shot, not when you slamfire. Only because slamfire, traditionally, you do lose some distance. Also, my question is, does it go with 200 feet with the actual B car, or is it 200 feet without it? Because with the bearing scar, yes, you do sacrifice accuracy for distance. That's just the way it works. Much like you see that there's an FPS drop whenever you fire it. However, if it's saying 200 feet of distance, I'm expecting that we're going to hit right around the 180, maybe even the 200 FPS mark. So let's cut this tape open here and look at the inside of this box. Now, this is pretty neat looking. Ooh, shaking my table here. Okay, so of course we have our instructions that, again, we never read, but maybe we should. Who knows? And where did my box code go? Of course, again, not frustration-free packaging. Let's go ahead and actually take this blaster out. I do really like the color purple that they chose. It looks so sweet. Now, you will see that the design itself, they went with the solid purple trim on the outside and, of course, the purple camo, quote-unquote, on the interior. So it gives it a nice little look here, and naturally the orange accents as well. And the other thing I will tell you that's obviously different is that they've done away with the iron sights and gave you an actual, quote-unquote, scope. Oh, yay. And it actually does have a targeting reticule mounted inside of it. That's kind of cool. That is something that a lot of companies, Hasbro, has actually decided to just give you a hollow tube. At least this way you can kind of target a little bit with this. Now, I will tell you that this blaster itself does seem a little bit chonkier than the Nexus Pro. That's okay. We'll see how it feels in our hands here in a second. Let's move this to the side. Get everything else out of here. Oh my. Now, I'm going to hazard to guess that these are compatible with Talon adapters, which is kind of nice. Just by appearance, they do look to be compatible. Maybe they're learning to get along and play nice. We'll see. But it's nice that you get 2 of them. And they are 12-round magazines. That's all right. 12-round is better than, 10, I guess. And then, of course, we have our B car and our P car. There is the bearing scar barrel. It does have 12 bearings on it, 4 on each of the triangles. This is to give the dart more spin, and there you go. Now, I have heard of people actually taking some of these off and putting them on some more expensive or some 3D printed B cars. because that way they actually have more bearings. The bearings here are supposedly pretty good for the price that you're paying for this. So again, that's more technical stuff that I'm going to go into, or should I say that I'm not going to go into. And you know what? For $20 that you can buy this off the website, that's actually pretty decent. Seeing as this blaster itself is $50, $20 for this, you're really only paying $30 for this blaster. Just perspective. This is just a pain in the butt to get to. All right, let's get the actual buttstock out. Now, this is adjustable, much like the other one, and it also feels thicker, and it has the purple on the backside with the, I want to say, charcoal front. Pull that in, and that adjusts, and there you go. I will say that that buttstock feels a lot sturdier than the other one. Now we're going to actually flip this box over because that is how all of this is done. Naturally, they did include iPro with this blaster. I'm guessing that they realized, hey, this is actually for pro play. And yeah, the last thing we want you to do is to shoot your eye out or shoot someone else's eye out or have your eye shot out with a foam blaster. These actually are some pretty stylish glasses. I do like the square rim, which means that you can actually put these on over glasses if you have them, which I do, and we will test that out. And then, of course, the dart storage, because why make stuff easy to get to from just one side? Of course, here we have all of our darts. Again, these are the Ember darts. If you're wondering how I know that they're called Ember darts, look, just go to the Dart Zone website, dartzone.com. They'll tell you all about their darts on there. Just saying. And this is an extra O-ring. Let's get this out of here. Okay, so, of course, loading the darts itself. This actually does have an arrow indicator that tells you which way the darts need to load. It is embossed on there. Let's see if you can get it on camera. There it is right there. So, heads go this way. The other way to notice it is that if whenever you see this notch, much like on any actual worker magazine, the Talent magazines, this notch means that the butt end of the dart goes towards the notch. In case they're not marked clearly, that's how you know, and you don't have to worry about misloading the actual darts. Just going to load up one magazine for now, only because of the fact that, you know what, don't have to see me spending all my time loading magazines. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Now, I will tell you that the difference between these magazines and the original Dart Zone magazines is that you can clearly see all of the magazines all of the darts in the magazine itself, and you can see how well the spring compresses downwards. That spring is almost all the way down, and it loads up the 12. I want to mention this because there are some magazines out there, such as the Worker Talent magazines, where it'll tell you that, hey, you can load up to this many darts, but then the spring seems like it can travel all the way down more. I'm not telling you to actually load it that way. Do not overload your magazines. That is a surefire way to cause damage to those springs. But that being said, it's nice to see that they are utilizing the maximum space available inside the magazine. Good on you, Dart Zone. The blaster itself does come with a holder. You can actually load up the plastic cigar barrel in here when you are not using it. And it is made to go like so. I'm showing you this because it does not go with the fat end on the outside. You'll see that this end is wider than this end. That end goes inside the actual muzzle itself. and then goes inside of here for storage. Now, this one is not made to go in there. So when you are not using it, you have to either hold it or just use it. It's that easy to take on and take off. Push it in, pull it out. Push it in, pull it out. Push in, pull out. Giggity. Of course, you do have the Picatinny rails on either side, so not only can you actually load up the sight on the top, but you can add some magazine holders on the side, or if you actually had a laser pointer on the side, you could go ahead and do so as well. Let's load this up for the back. One thing I will show you is that this sight, it is open on the back side, so you can load it from the front or the back, whichever you would like. You don't have to have the iron sight on here, but if you choose to do so, you can. And because of the fact that this is Picatinny, much like the original Nexus Pro, you can change this sight out and put any other sight on here that is not a Nerf tactical rail-based sight. Of course, if you chose to go get a 3D printed file to go from Picatinny to Nerf, you can do so, and then you can use whatever Nerf attachments you might want. But why you would want to do that, except for a gimmick like the Nerf Recon Scope, the Modulus Recon Scope, I do not know. Again, I want to point out that it is confirmed this is for half-length magazines only. Speaking of half-length magazines, will the original Dart Zone magazines fit in here? It looks like they might. Will they fire? Yes, they do fire. So yes, you can use your original Dart Zone magazines in here, and they do fire. Loading up. So you can load on here, and you can unload. Let me see if you actually have to prime in order to load properly. So no, you do not actually have to have the blaster prime in order to load and unload the magazines. That is phenomenal. I love that. So that's going to make loading and unloading magazines so much easier, or I should say replacing magazines so much easier. You don't have to prime the blaster. That's just fantastic. You can do it on the fly. That's great. Of course, the trigger safety, much like the original Nexus Pro, if it pops out on the right, that means that the safety is engaged. Like now, if it's inside the left, it's ready to fire. You do pull back on this, and I can tell you that this feels a lot firmer than the original Nexus Pro, which is great. I can't wait to test this one out. Let's switch views really quick so you can see what it feels like or what it looks like in my arms, and if I have the chicken wing on or not. All right, so in my arms, this actually feels pretty comfortable. I do have the buttstock extended just a little bit. It can go a little bit further. Well, not too much further. All right, so no, I am actually at the furthest extension that it locks without falling off. There we go. And that feels pretty comfortable. It allows me to see the sight, and this sight is pretty good. I like the way this sight looks. Oh, yeah. That lines up with that, the crosshairs line up perfectly with the iron sight, which is pretty neat. That's going to be a joy to use. I can't wait to test this out in an accuracy test. I do like this. I like this a lot. Now, one of the things I will mention to you about this blaster, much like the original Nexus Pro, it does have something here that makes me giggle. It says powered by PTDZ. If you can't take a joke, it is powered by, because it's not a battery powered blaster, but it's powered by Prime Time Dart Zone. PTDZ. That's what it means. So there we go. Up next, we're going to do a chronograph test as well as accuracy and distance test with the Nexus Pro X and the Nexus Pro. And we're going to compare to see just how well this blaster does compared to its predecessor. Okay, so we're actually outside at the parking lot range to test the distance on the original Nexus Pro. We are actually going to do 2 shots, actually 4 shots, 2 with standard length, 2 with half length darts. Then I'm going to swap out to a modified original Nexus Pro that I have and do the same. We're going to test the distances with this one, and then we're going to switch out to the Nexus Pro X. First up, OG Nexus Pro. That is with the half-length darts. Sorry, full-length darts. We are now going to switch to half-lengths. I'm going to do a quick dart recovery. I'll be back with these numbers. So with the half-length darts, we got 115 and 185 feet respectively. They definitely caught some air. This is an honest blaster. When it says it can reach up to 125 feet, it actually exceeded that threshold. It almost beat the 125 feet with a straight shot, which is awesome. Now, the full-length darts, again, 110 feet and 185 feet, it caught some air. There is about a steady 5-mile-an-hour wind that we had, which is 5-mile-an-hour tailwind, which may have skewed the numbers a little bit, but not to that extent. So definitely an honest blaster, definitely worth picking up if you can find them on sale still. Now, we're going to eject these magazines and switch out to my modified Nexus Pro. Back with the modified Nexus Pro, a little bit of a harder prime. We're going to reload with the standard magazines here. 2 shots like we did before. I'm going to do a quick dart recovery. We'll be back with these numbers. All right, so with the half-length darts and the full-length darts, the straight shots were at about 115 feet. When it came to the angled shot, that's when we definitely saw the improvement with the spring spacer and the actual extended aluminum barrel or brass barrel. Distance-wise, angled shot, we got 190 feet with the actual standard length darts and then 210 feet with the half-length darts. So a little bit of an improvement. Straight shot, I'll be honest with you, I noticed when I picked it up that the first straight shot that was a half-length was not an Ember dart. It was actually an aftermarket that came with the bread machine, so probably not the best dart to test with to begin with. But I'm going to take that number. Now we're actually going to switch out to the Pro X and see how it performs. And we're back with the Pro X. So we actually have the Ember darts loaded up in here. We're going to do 2 shots, 1 angled, 1 straight. I'm not going to have to do 4 because of the fact that this one only shoots half-length darts. And let's see if the chronograph gives us an accurate reading as to how far it can go. All right, well, this is embarrassing because I read 155 feet with one of the shots. I'm pretty sure that was the straight shot. The angled shot, I walked 240 feet and I couldn't find it. So I'm actually going to have my spotter and cameraman G-Rex go out about 250 feet out to see if he can spot where this next one's going to land. So G-Rex, if you would not mind running about 25 parking spots down the road, we're going to launch another dart and you can see if you see where it lands. This is impressive. He's such a good helper. Hopefully he can spot this one. Go to it. Let me go count how far this is. Well, I found one of them, 235 feet away. We almost ran out of parking lot. Hot damn. Hot diggity damn. That is impressive. Up next, we're going to actually test to see just how accurate this blaster really is. All right, so far when it comes to the chronograph and the distance, obviously the Nexus Pro X is much more improved than the original Nexus Pro. However, let's test out the accuracy. We are now indoors. I know that I had said about doing an outdoor accuracy test with this blaster. However, time has gotten away from me and I want to get this video out as quickly as possible. So we're going to just stick with the indoor test. We are now about 30 feet away from the target and we're going to see just how accurate these blasters can be. So first we're going to start off with the original Nexus Pro, then we're going to do with the Nexus Pro X and see how this works. Of course, we are going to be using the actual bearing scar on the Pro X. Let me go ahead and set this one down for now and start off with the Nexus Pro. So not bad. There was actually only one that did not hit the actual target basket, and that was because I was trying to aim for the small 75 circle, and it went just below the basket, and it bounced all the way back to me. So very accurate blaster. 9 out of 10 struck the actual target area. Now we're going to switch for the Pro X and see how this one works. Wow, 10 out of 10 hit that basket. I'm going to have to actually check the basket itself because I think a lot of them actually went right through the target and into the basket itself. So you will see that in the numbers here shortly. Up next, my final thoughts regarding the Nexus Pro X and the Nexus Pro. And I am back with my final thoughts regarding the original Nexus Pro. Now, I will tell you, this blaster, it is an iconic blaster. It deserves its status. There's a reason why it was on the shelf for 4 years. And honestly, it was a good seller for 4 years. It is comfortable to hold. The angled foregrip up here, it is fantastic. The fact that it matches the actual rear grip as well, it doesn't feel awkward at all, and it is a decent prime. It is very powerful, and to this day, 4 years later, it is still a valid blaster to take for competitive play when you have certain level caps. Let me explain. Even though the chronograph did have it reading at some points in the high 160s with the Ember darts, sometimes hitting into the 170s, that's okay because those are fresh darts. You could easily switch to older, more worn out darts. Oh, I just bit my tongue. Anyways, as I was trying to say, you could easily switch to older, more worn out darts, and that number will drop dramatically. Of course, if you were to switch to what I call the game face, quote unquote, speed darts, those are the ones with the rounded tips. Worker also made some Gen 2s that were rounded tip as well. That will drop your FPS to below the 150 level cap easily, or right around that part where you could get away with using them. Of course, if you were to switch to standard length waffle tip darts, that will also drop your FPS ratings, so you should be able to compete with this in a 150 level cap round easily. It is still valid, it still works to this day. I see people taking them out, and they are fun. The accuracy on this thing is fantastic. Even with this little weird flip top sight, it's okay. You could honestly replace this with some iron sights. For example, if you happen to own a X-Shot Pro long shot, you could easily swap out those sights and you have a very good targeting system on this blaster. Now, aesthetically, it is very pleasing. Like I said, when I first saw the purple camo, I was kind of put off by it. But then when I actually saw it in person, it looks really sharp. It looks really nice. And it's just very appealing. I'm not going to lie. It blends perfectly. Now, mind you, I say it blends perfectly as in like the colors blend together really nice. Not that you're going to disappear because of purple camouflage, not unless you're trying to hide amongst Barney the dinosaur and his friends. So, that being said, still a good blaster. I highly recommend. Now, who is this for? It is for ages 14 and up. If you want to hand it to somebody younger, that's okay. Just make sure that they are very responsible. Perfect example, G-Rex, he's 11. He knows all about blaster safety, knows the rules about firing this, where to aim, and who not to aim at, and basic general etiquette with regarding rules of engagement. So I feel comfortable with adult supervision with him using this. However, I would not leave this around the house where a random 8-year-old can pick it up, only because they're going to say, this is fun, and they might have a little difficulty priming it because, it is a heavy-duty blaster, but once it actually primes, they might end up irresponsibly hitting someone with it, and then next thing you know, you're going to hear a lot of crying, you might hear furniture breaking, and you're just going to have a bad time. So try to keep it at that teenage range, just saying. Now, of course, if you're an adult and you want to use this to play with people at a park, definitely have at it. You're going to have a good time with this. Now, one of the things I will point out is that this actually does pop off, just twists off, and it just pops back in. Now, you saw the distance test that mine is painted a certain way. That is for a LARP purpose only. I do not recommend painting your blasters to look hyper realistic, especially one like this that does have the profile of an actual weapon. If you choose to modify it, understand that these blasters are very easy to open. Unlike other companies, Dark Zone / Adventure Force in this case, they actually have designed this blaster with modification in mind because of competition. So just to let you know, that other Nexus Pro, which I believe is up on the wall right there, maybe that's it, I think. Anyways, that one actually has an extended brass barrel inside of it instead of the standard aluminum barrel, and it actually has a spring spacer. And you could see that that got some increase in performance numbers. So there you go. I will tell you that based on the chronograph numbers, you saw how it can perform with standard Ember darts. I did toss in one dart reading with a Bamboo 2.0 dart, so you can see that when you change the darts, it does increase those numbers drastically. Of course, the darts are also much lighter and much more expensive. How expensive are they? Well, the going rate right now for the Bamboo 2.0s, actually, they don't sell those anymore. I think they're just down to the Bamboo 2X. It's the next generation bamboos. I would call them Bamboo 3s, whatever. But Bamboo 2X, that actually runs at about 200 darts for $35 right now on Amazon and Walmart, and you can't really buy them directly through Dart Zone. So there's that versus 100 for $9.99 for Embers, and I want to say it's like $12.99 sometimes, maybe $15 for the 150 pack for the Ruby Darts. So you find out which one works best for you, to be honest with you. I personally would stick with the Embers and the Bamboos because of the fact that, you know what, Rubies, even though they're great, they are overused, and yeah, I don't know, something about the Ember Darts. I tend to like them better. Depending on what condition they're in, I find that the Embers actually tend to last longer, if that makes any sense. My Rubies tend to fall apart relatively fast, but it could just be a batch that I have. But we're not here to discuss darts, we're here to discuss blasters. I do highly recommend, if you can actually pick up a Nexus Pro, or if you see somebody who's trying to get rid of one, go ahead and pick it up. It's a good blaster to have in your arsenal, and as I said, it is still valid 4 years later. That's how good of a blaster this was. Plus side, you can actually use half darts and standard lengths. Let's set this one down really quick, because up next, we need to talk about the one that kind of just, it blew me out of the water. The Nexus Pro X. This is fantastic. Right out of the box, this performs at levels of the Pro Mark 1.2. The Pro Mark 1.2, it's no longer really on sale, as from what I can see. And when it was on sale, unless you got it for that bargain bin of like $30 or $60, it was right around that $100 range. So this matches the performance of the Mark 1.2, and in my opinion, kind of exceeds it. And yeah, that's with the stock spring. So I am sure that someone out there is going to start modifying this very soon. Of course, this has only been out on the market for about 2 weeks now. And once they do, we're probably going to see this perform even better. I expect that eventually someone out there is going to take this thing to the 300 and beyond range. And if that happens, you know what? You can rest assured that I will be on that list of people who buys that mod. Only because of the fact that this one, it is made for the 250 rounds. Again, you can hit 210, 219 stock with Ember Darts on here. If you load up the Bamboos, you saw that you hit the 230s. So that hits the 250 cap. That will meet with the 250 cap and have fun with those blasters. The accuracy, it is pretty accurate within 30 feet. I can only assume that that accuracy stays very close at 50 feet and then starts to dwindle downwards because of the fact that eventually darts do start to curve down. However, how they veer from left to right, that's a different story. I may make a short later on when I actually show the long distance accuracy test at 60 feet. However, for now, you saw what it's like at 30 feet. You saw the distance that it can get. It got over 200 feet, making it a very honest blaster. And yeah, a very good looking one to boot. Now, regarding the bearing scar versus the plastic scar barrel, I'll be honest with you. I can see scientifically where the bearing scar is supposed to make it more accurate. And when I did the accuracy test, I used the scar. I did not use the plastic scar, to be honest with you. I am surprised that with the B car, we got higher chronograph readings than without any of the extended barrels. Usually that means that there's some sort of barrel drag when you attach one of those things, and that wasn't the case. Now, I will also say that the first test that I did with the chronograph with the bearing scar was with absolutely fresh darts. So, obviously, the more you use a dart, the less performance you're going to get out of them. So keep that in mind. But it should not have been that good of a performance compared to nothing at all. Usually it's quite the opposite. So that was very surprising. I do love the improvements that they made with the magazines. I love the fact that it's Talon compatible natively, and that these should be able to fit in a worker magazine. I wish I would have tested that, but you know what? I will probably put it in the comments section if that turns out to not be the case. There is one small issue that I have. It is not with the blaster. It is with what comes with the blaster. So, we live in an era where, and please forgive me if I go on a woke tirade here, but we live in an era where we are always talking about DEI and accessibility. So this blaster, they do include some safety glasses with it, some eye protection with it. In a world where Dark Zone has made it so that you can actually wear goggles that they provide you with, that if you wear glasses, you can fit them over your glasses and they fit fine. This is not acceptable anymore. Let me show you. My glasses that I have to use in order for me to see more than 20 feet in front of me. This is with the legs extended as far back as possible. They do not fit. These do not fit over my glasses. I thought that they would. One of the things that's stopping it from fitting is how this wraps around to protect your eyes. And look, that's okay. I would rather for somebody who does not wear glasses to be able to have their eyes fully protected than to have them exposed out in the open. However, I really wish that they would make it so that these were more adjustable to actually fit people who wear glasses. Because again, just because you are playing with a pro level blaster doesn't mean that you're not going to wear glasses. And just because you actually have prescription glasses does not mean that you do not need eye protection. Because guess what? These are not rated to take a 300 FPS dart to the face. Just saying. However, for the general population, these are fine. When I take off my glasses, the fact that these legs can extend backwards a little bit is kind of nice, and they also shrink down for smaller faces. They are pretty comfortable. The only thing I will say is that when it comes to my field of vision, I do see this orange bit right here, which can be kind of distracting. However, other than that, you know what? They were going to work just fine. Now that I'm off of that rant, who is this blaster for? I'm going to be honest with you. I let G-Rex try to prime this thing, and he had to, exercise his arms just a little bit. He was able to prime it, but it wasn't a comfortable prime necessarily. It's not one that he could rapid fire with. So would I give it to anybody younger than 14? No. No. This is not going to be a fun blaster for them. I'll be honest with you. No, it's just not. Now, are they going to think it's really cool? Absolutely. Because, hey, it's a fast shooting blaster. It's a powerful blaster. It makes people go, owie. Of course they're going to think it's cool. Keep it to the 14 and up. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Or, you know what? You might be able to push the 12, 13 range, but not younger than that. Now, what is this blaster going to be used for? Sadly, I can tell you that this blaster is nowhere near the 150 cap ratings for a lot of the games. So this is not HVZ compliant. This is definitely a 250 range. You can definitely bring this one out. And the accuracy on it, again, superb for that. So this one is when you bring out the big boys. It's plain and simple. However, when you actually compare both blasters, you take a Nexus Pro and a Nexus Pro X all to the same event, and different rounds, different blasters, ta-da. So I do highly recommend picking this one up. And at a price point of $49, it cannot be beat right now. There's nothing on the market that's going to match this natively. Even the X-Shot Long Shot, which I loved, does not perform quite like this one does fresh out of the box. So there you have it. I want to thank you all for watching Secondhand Blasters. If you like this video, go ahead and actually click the like and subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the bell notification if you want to get more notifications when I upload new content. I do try to upload new content every couple of weeks or as new blasters come out. Of course, there is a plethora of blasters that I have in my backlog that I still have to make reviews for. So if you've not seen one made yet and you say, hey, Normatico, I want to see your thoughts regarding this blaster, go ahead and actually leave me a message. If I have it in my arsenal, I will go ahead and review it. I've done it before a couple of times already, so just be prepared to get a shout out when I do that. Again, thanks for watching. Until next time, keep on blasting. But wait, there's more! You didn't think I was going to leave you hanging, did you? We're going to actually do the long distance accuracy test. One shot, aiming for that second post down there. Let's see if it is accurate.